Hold on, let's get the mic situation all right. I might have hit live too quickly. Still setting up. Got a couple watches I want to talk about here today, guys. Good morning, by the way. Saturday vibes, beautiful Saturday morning, summertime vibes, and of course, we're talking watches as usual. So, nothing really planned, you know. I like to freestyle some of these things, and I didn't bring any of my watches from my collection, but I have a couple of watches here from my brother's collection, which is going to pertain to what we're going to be talking about here today. So, you know, just general watch talk, and let's get into it though. So first and foremost, what's on the wrist? I got the, I believe this is DW 5600. Everybody knows this watch. It's the classic square. I just put this case on yesterday, a little late to the summer vibes, but we got until the end of September really to close out with it. So I'll have some time to enjoy this. Been having a lot of fun with G-Shocks and modifying them and switching things up. I ended up changing the case off this one very early on. And I got this one on AliExpress, this casing for it, $4. Wifey's in the building. What's up, baby? This one I got off of AliExpress. Very simple thing. I got into just customizing a lot of digital watches lately. And you know, I got the King version of this one, which is much larger. When I first started collecting, it was more about getting the larger size of watches, and I got the King G-Shock version of this one. But as time went on, DK's in the building. What's up, brother, man? I just saw that I was scaling down, man. It was just getting a little bit more comfortable to wear watches that were a little bit smaller. I still have some room for the larger size watches still in my collection. I'm finding some more bands for them as far as that's concerned. But yeah, man, just pick this one up. It's something that I haven't, you know, done in a while. I started with the F91W. I've been appreciating a lot more Casio watches lately. And to be honest, with this watch, I was gonna go with the metal. So they have titanium and they have regular stainless steel. They have PVD coated stainless steel that you can get for this, which looks really, really good. Some of them have like the text on it, on the metal itself. And I thought that that was really, really cool, and I was this close to going that route, but I decided to go with this white band on the G-Shock because it's still summer, and I don't know, man, the white really just brings out that summertime vibe, and we have like another little over a month. I think, what, the last day of summer is the 22nd, the 23rd of September, so plenty of time to still enjoy this watch. So, you know, what I want to know, and I'm eventually going to do a review of this DW 5600, but what I want to know from you guys, comment down below if you're watching this later on. Should I do a modification to the polarized film on this? I was thinking a blacked out theme, right? Which makes it somewhat hard to see the screen. I do also have blue. I also have red that I could do. Not too many colorways you can do with the polarized film, at least from what I was able to source. There's gray. And then there is, I think that there's purple, right? And then we could also do a color film on it. To give you an example, I have this one that I did for my brother, which is a positive display just with some colored film. And then you have a little bit more options as far as what colors you can use. So let me know if you're watching this on the playback, you know, let me know if you guys think I should do the polarized modification to the screen. Leave it alone. I'm gonna leave this band on here for quite some time, enjoy it for the rest of the summer. In the wintertime, probably switch things up. Maybe I'll go to the metal, because my thought process was this. You know, in my collecting, you know, journey right now, I'm trying to put stuff that I don't really have, and I don't have titanium, and they actually make a titanium band that you could put on this aftermarket, which is pretty cool because it's still gonna stay lightweight. But I don't know, man, I didn't want to metal it up because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stainless steel in the collection already, so I didn't really feel like I wanted to jump into that. So, you know, there's some time, there's a lot of things. I also have the WS 2100, I believe, which is like a step up from the F91. So, having a lot of fun with the Casios. I'll have a lot of fun with modding, and that brings me to one of the topics that I wanted to discuss here today: modifications with watches. So the reason why I want to discuss this is because I've been getting a lot of people hitting me up and saying, you know, they're interested in getting into watch modding, but they don't know how to approach it. They're not sure if they should even attempt it, right? Is it too hard? Is it something that, is very difficult? So it lines up with a G-Shock, and it lines up with uh, an easier watch to mod like this, because this was super simple, right? Mega, what's going on, man? Banana Man, do you like oiled men too? Interesting, interesting. No, I'm gonna pass on oiled men, Banana. Uh, yeah, so if you want to get into modding, the easiest way to do that is just to start off with some of these quartz watches. Start off with the Casios. Like, this modification was just a case. Very, very simple to do. Just, swap that out. This band on AliExpress was like $4. The watch itself is like on Amazon for 40 or 50 bucks. So really easy to get into if you're starting to collect, and if you are starting to get interested in doing modifications and you don't want to mess things up. That was the main thing that I talked about with the gentleman. He was just like, I don't want to take one of the watches that are in my collection already and just mess it up, right? I don't want to do something where I mess up a watch that I already have. So he was asking me some questions: where to source parts, how should he start? He's even thinking about getting into doing some servicing, which, for servicing, I recommended to him Watch Fix, which is an online class that you can take, and they give you all of the instructions that you need. It's very clear and concise. It gives you all the parts that you need to purchase. It gives you lesson by lesson. I think that there's some quizzes involved. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, Mega, I just released the Nomoki mod video, which ties into what we're talking about here. And I thought it was a kind of interesting approach with them. Instead of going in head first with one of their watch kits, which I'm going to get to that. We're in conversation. They're actually sending me a kit that I'm interested in doing. I'm not sure if I should do that live or if I should do that as a recording, but I want to make that one more thorough as far as step-by-step doing modifications. But phenomenal relationship with Nomoki Mods off rip. They actually sent me a watch that you can purchase pre-made, which is something that I talk about often when it comes to getting into watch modding. You don't necessarily have to purchase a watch and all of its pieces if you don't feel comfortable in sourcing a quality watch part and or the proper watch pieces to fit with it, right? Like, so one of his questions was, hey, I measured out the case. Is the movement going to fit in this case? The case is saying it's whatever. I think it was like 36 or 38 millimeter. And he was like, the movement is a lot smaller. And I said, look, the way watches work is the inside of the watch is usually a smaller cut, which fits the movement. But in some cases, if the case is much wider and it's meant for a larger movement, they'll give you a movement holder, right? But I can understand that if you're getting into watch modding, that sounds a little confusing and daunting. Another way is to reverse engineer that. Go to Nomoki Mods, or listen, you can go to AliExpress. I've done this a lot of times. I've got examples of it too that I'm going to show you guys, but you can get a very affordable Tanderio watch and reverse engineer it, right? What do I mean by that? You purchase the watch from Tanderio and they send you it complete, obviously. And then you can swap out things, like you could swap out the dial, you could swap out the hands. I've done that oftentimes when I didn't want to do a project from scratch. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to do everything from the starting position, if you will. It just depends on how I feel and what the person is looking for out of the watch. If they're making something that already resembles close to what they're looking for, then it makes sense. But that's another option. And I was interested to see the quality that Nomoki has on a pre-build. Now, I was obviously expecting the watch to be of good quality, being that I know a lot of watch modders use and source their parts to put watches together. So I wasn't surprised. You guys could see the video that I released today that it was actually of high quality. The loom was on point. Something that I look for, and you'll get to know this as you start messing with watch parts more often. Just simple things like, how does the crown feel when you screw it in? Is there like that gritty feeling? Is there some resistance? How is it manufactured, right? You could also look at the finishing and everything else, but functionally, that's something that I look for. And with the watch that they sent me, which was PVD and DLC coated, It was phenomenal. You know, I have nothing bad to say about it. It functioned. Everything was smooth with the crown. All the parts really interacted well. It seemed like they used a higher quality NH35, if you will. Like you have the mass-produced ones, but then you have the ones that are produced a little bit better, which all of the gears interact and the keyless works a little smoother. The parts are a little tighter, so you get that kind of feel. And that's what I got out of the watch. Other than the bezel being a little muffled, probably from that PVD coated and that DOC coated, which is kind of to be expected. It's hard to get around that. You have to kind of pay close attention to the bezel if you're going to coat that watch. But solid watch. It had a lot of heft to it. It was very, very nice. So let me look at Chad. The clan is in the building. I've lowered battery and lead into the yard, into the sun to watch this. Yeah, maxing and relaxing. I appreciate you. Vitaly, any ways to mod light or light screen on a, yeah, so Vitaly, to mod the light screen, so you're referencing like a positive screen like this, you can do it. You can do it. And that's something that I did for my brother. So what you have to do is you have to go online. I sourced mine from, I think it was AliExpress or eBay, and you get what's called like these colored films. And at that point, because you have a positive display behind it, those colorways are going to show. Sometimes some of the colors are a little bit darker and they're harder to read. So it usually comes in a pack of like, I don't know, like 15, 16 to 20 different colors. And you just play around with it before you install it, pop out the module, and then just kind of put those colors that you're looking for in front of it and see how it's going to turn up. So this is an example of a positive display with some colored film on it. So it absolutely can be done. And then if you mess around with polarized film, it's going to be more dramatic. You know what I mean? Obviously, like if you've ever seen the polarized negative film on there, or if you get like a colorway that's blue or red, you'll have that. Megazoid, design fatigue was a good point you raised, which can be, yeah, Mega. So thank you for mentioning that. On the Mercedes hands, that was the only thing. So afterwards, I actually ended up changing the hands between me and you. That's the only thing that I'm a little tired of as far as seeing it, because I mess around with a lot of homage watches. Everybody knows that. You know, I'm all about affordability watches from all ranges. It all started with a watch. You guys know my thing. But, you know, a lot of these homage companies obviously are taking, you know, models that are from Rolex and everything else, so they throw the Mercedes hands on there. So it's really tiring to see the Mercedes hands. I really wish that they would switch it up, even from the Seiko hands, right? Like, if you go to AliExpress, you can just type in NH35 hands, and they got a lot of different selections, like sword hands and cathedral hands. Cathedral hands are really nice. I think that's like the in-between game where it almost looks like the regular Rolex hand, but not. Sword hands, dolphin hands. I mean, the sky's the limit at that point. Like, you really could mess around with that and play with that. And that's going back to what I said, like reverse engineer the watch if you get it and make it to your own little by little. You know, you can get into customizing the dial, putting whatever logo you want in it, switch it out as, you know, with that matter. So, Oscar, good afternoon, Oscar. Oscar's in the building. What's up, brother, man? I love cathedral hands. Yeah, so Mega, that's my favorite style. I was actually the first, matter of fact, my logo is a watch that I first customized, and I think I have cathedral hands on there. I've swapped it out so much, but I believe I have cathedral hands on there. And that's my absolute favorite. And I love to mess around with that. I also like to mess around with the high polished sword hands too, but yeah, man, that was a good video. That was a good video. And just going back to it, like, starting off with customizing, you could start off very easy. Like first level would be just swapping out a case, right? Just get yourself a screwdriver. Most of these cases, this came with a very basic screwdriver, but I had screwdrivers from SKX mods, which are pretty nice. They come with a little color on top, and they have a good amount of length on it. They're pretty sturdy. So I ended up using that screwdriver from them, from some of the cases that I modded that you guys, I'm pretty sure, have seen. But very easy. The screws on the side here, and I'm making a video. I actually recorded myself doing this. I know it's super simple, guys, but believe it or not, there's people out there that are asking the question of how they could get into modifying. So I'm trying to cover the basics part of it all the way up to, you know, having a watch that's fully assembled on your own and covering all that ground. So this is the case that I put on it. Just the screws right here, and then the regular pins just need to be removed. And I was thinking about going black and white, but I was like, it already has black for the screen. I'm thinking having a blacked out negative polarized film in here would be really cool, but I don't know, man. I'm a little apprehensive because when I first got the King G-Shock, that came in a negative display, right? And it's kind of hard to see in some lighting, so I was a little like, like I strayed away from it after a while, but it also is kind of large, so, you know, I don't know. I got a new band coming from it that I think will revamp it, but still having a lot of fun and everything else. So yeah, so this would be level 1, right? You just change out the band. This is just a rubber piece that sits over the module. Boom, you're done. You know, you don't even have to do anything with this. Level 2 would be actually opening up the case back, right? This has screws, that plate comes off, the module's all there, and you don't have to break down the module at all. You're pulling the module out, you're cutting the film to the spaces that you want to hear. You don't have to even be this fancy. You don't have to do it in sections of color. I decided to do that because my brother is Brazilian and I have the Brazilian colorway in there. That's something that I wanted to do. But you could choose one color and just have it, you know, cover the whole thing, and then boom, you have a Casio Royale that is unlike most people. So that might be nice for you to do. So that would be level 2. You have a bull bar on there too. That's very easy. You know, you don't have to worry about messing anything up. So Space G is in the building. What's going on, brother? So that would be level 2. Of course, you have SKX mod that does casings for this. It's not on this one in particular. This is just from one of the standard cases as far as that is. But you could also get an SKX mod, which would work similar to this DW5600, right? Like you're just putting the casing around it. You're not messing with anything on the inside, and you take it from there, right? Level 3 would be getting a watch that's already pre-made and just changing out the dial. Now, it's not the route that I always go with, right? I sometimes start for most of the part, I like to start from scratch because I like to just start the project from there. But you have something like this where Tandorio has this listed on their website for like $50, and it doesn't come with this dial. Obviously, this is one of my Santana dials that I get in bulk. So the way that works is you go to AliExpress, you go to custom dials, you type in NH35. Now, obviously, you're going to get a bunch of stores that do it, and you send them the image of what you want, which is, in my case, it would be this font that I sent over to them for the Santana logo. And you pay for that mold, if you will, and they print it out for you. Now, it could be an actual logo, right? Like you could send them some like cross swords, you could send them whatever you want, as long as it's not too crazy detailed. You guys know about my travel watch out in Watch Crunch where I did the globe and I do like all that's done through there for the most part. Like I had other sources, but that's the way that I would like to explain to do it for those who are looking for an easier route. You know, I know a lot of people are not super nerdy about it, so I don't want to give like a more complicated situation. So it's trial and error, right? So the way it works is once you send that image to them, they're going to send you back a rendering. They're going to show you exactly what's going to look like with computer graphics and, you know, see if you're happy with it. Then they're going to apply it, and then they're going to send you an image of the watch, and then you say yes, yes, no, no. Now, when they send you an image of it, the only thing you have to look out for is the sizing. They're going to send you a close-up image of it, right? Which may be a little, what's the word? It may be a little bit misleading because when they're showing you the blow-up image, it's clear. But when you get the watch, if it's not large enough, you're not going to be able to read it. And maybe that's something that you want to do where you want it to be less suspicious for other people to read. Or maybe it's not, you want it to be legible. So, you know, keep in mind that there is different things to look for when you're doing custom watch. And there's a lot of communication back and forth. But once you have that mold or that rendering done, now there's usually an upcharge fee for that. And now you kind of own that mold. So what I did was I had a store that had a variety of dials, and I had that mold done. It was confirmed of the sizing that I want, everything else. And I took like a whole batch of them because I knew along the way I would be building watches either for myself or for family members. So at one point I was sitting on like 5 or 6 dials that had the Santana logo on there. It's kind of like my thing. Who knows what's in store for the future? Maybe I do some watches, or maybe that's something that I get into. But at the end of the day, wherever I wanted to go with that, it ended up being a bunch of gifts that I gave out to family and making that, you know, custom dial. JC Watch is in the building. What's up, brother? I appreciate it, man. Thank you for saying you like the content, man. I'm just doing my thing, baby. I'm glad you guys like it. I really do. So yeah, anyway, went off on a tangent. I do that a lot. So this would be what I say, level 3. Yeah, level 3 would be buying a watch that's made. So you don't have to worry so much about, am I getting all the right parts, right? If you buy the wrong part at that point, you could always put the dial back that you had on there, send it back, whatever. But yo, if you're buying an NH35 and you type in NH35 dial, the dial's going to fit that watch, okay? You have to sometimes cut the right feet on the back, right? There's different spots on the back of the dial where you have to cut the correct, and this is gonna make more sense when I do the video. Hopefully I'll get into that type of situation where I'll show you guys what I mean. But on the back of the dial, there's multiple feet that come on it and you have to clip off the right one, shave it down, and you just know which one is which by matching it up before. What I normally do is even if I feel confident that that's the correct dial foot that I'm cutting off, I always measure twice, cut once, right? That's the rule. And I always put it against the movement gently, don't want to scratch the date wheel. And I'm making sure that that's the right one, and then I cut and shave and it goes right in and I have a nice day. So that's not something that I've gotten on record yet as far as content, but that's definitely something that I would love to do. And so for this one, I changed out that dial and I changed out the hands. So that was the custom dial. And I think I clipped the second hand. If you guys see, it's a one-way street second hand. So it's something that I was like inspired to do once I saw that and gave that to my brother. This is part of his collection. So I believe this is the actual leather band that came with it, if I'm not mistaken. And then I added just this little clip thing so like that for the longevity of the leather. So giving it a little bit of that like, not high-end feel, but you know, more of that a little bit more expensive type of feel. So from there, you know, you should grow your confidence and be able to say, okay, let me now start a project where I want to start from scratch. And it works the same way, right? From that part, you'll now feel confident in ordering the dial that you want. Because when it comes to modifying, that's the thing, right? There's only so many dials that you guys can purchase for you to switch on and off. So in my opinion, I was like, how do I separate or make it a little bit more personal? And that was creating my own logo and putting my last name. And again, you don't have to do that. You can do a basketball, you know, you could do anything you want to do as long as it's not too complicated and as long as it has to read. If there's a lot of details in a very small image, you guys know the deal. It won't make too much sense. Nishot's in the building. What's up, sweetheart? Got family in here now. Got family in. A one-off custom dial single would be prohibitively expensive. Just a name, nothing else. Not necessarily. If you do a one-off, so when I said it in the sense of doing like a batch, but you could do a one-off. It's anywhere between, look, the dial plus the first time mold making and everything else included, you're looking somewhere between $30 to $50, including the dial, right? So if the dial is, I mean, sometimes it ranges, right? So I want to say it's anywhere between comfortably 30 to 50 bucks. But with that being said, now if you start doing things like, oh, I want this logo at the top and then I want something down here and I want letters, all of that is going to add to the cost. So what I was speaking on is just doing the logo at the 12 o'clock. You're looking around $30 to $50. I don't think I've ever paid too much more over that. And then the next time you do it, you're probably only spending $20 to $30, depending on the cost of the dial, you know, raising that. And that usually is inclusion to what the dial cost is. And there's a lot of stores out there. Some of them have more dials than other. Just trying to think of some tips. So one issue that I ran into doing custom dials is I had a dial that had waves in it, right? It had that wave pattern. If you imagine like the Omega Seamaster, which was actually the homage that I did it for. I put wording on that, and with those dials, you need a raised, you need an applied, right? And they probably have custom availability to that, which is going to be more expensive, obviously, but you can't do a printed logo on top of that for the fact that there's depth in that dial. So that's something to look out for as well. So two things. Be wary of the sizing that is on the dial. What you may want to ask for is a close-up and a standard like distance away. So you maybe want something like this or like a wrist shot, and then you want something up close so you can gauge if whether or not that logo that you're putting on there is going to be of the proper sizing. Let's see what you guys are saying here. John, you be killing it with those shark skins. I love the idea of a tutorial on building the watch done in the segments. Yes. So I'm definitely going to do that. I have Nomoki Mods. I'm partnering with them. They're sending me a kit that I haven't seen done before specifically for that kit that they're sending me. So I'm excited to do just a step-by-step because that's also one of my tips. Because another half of that is that people are also concerned with getting the right tools. Bergeron gets thrown into the mix, and then people are like, oh my God, $70, $100 for tweezers? You don't have to go that crazy, not even close. I think the kit from Nomoki Mods, if you go with or without the kit, I think it's like a $20 or $30 difference, and that's all you really need. Now, that being said, you have to know what tools you need to successfully get through making a custom watch, right? And I think to simplify things, I've been recommending Nomoki Mods so that then you can see what comes with the kit. You could possibly purchase something that they have. You don't have the fear of the quality of parts. You don't have the fear of, am I getting enough tools? Am I getting the right tools? But if you go the route of purchasing separately all the pieces, all the parts, plus the tools, they have kits, man. They have kits on AliExpress. They have kits on eBay. It's really not that difficult. There's a bunch of YouTube content already that will walk you through all of the tools that are necessary. So it's really not that complicated. And if you're only building your first watch, you don't want to invest in tools that are going to last a lifetime. Why do I say that? Because the tools that are going to last a lifetime is going to be very, very expensive. And you don't know if watch modding is for you yet. So better start off with stuff that you're going to have to replace down the road, more financially sound too, because boom, your tweezers are gone, right? The ends of it, and there's ways that you can file and make them sharp again, but maybe you bend them, maybe you lose them, whatever. Then you could say, all right, I've modded 5 watches. I know that I'm going to do 10 more. I'm going to do a lot more for family, for myself, whatever. Now it's worth me investing in a tool that's a little bit more expensive. So start off very simple. That's how I started off. I did purchase a do-it-yourself watch kit, which became my first custom watch that I put together. It was right place, right time. They had bronze casing on there, which I felt ready for in my collection. So I said, you know what, let me get a crack at it. And the rest was history. I'm now like, I want to say from scratch, I probably built 50 to 60 watches. As modifications, if you will, like I said, that easier route, probably a little bit less than that, probably like 15, 20. Something like that. Let me catch up on chat. Sorry, guys. I love the idea of the tour. I read that. Howdy there. What's going on, Sneak the Wolf? Appreciate you checking in, brother. What's your favorite modded watch? Sneak the Wolf is asking what is your favorite modded watch? Like, what is my favorite watch to mod? Or what is my favorite modded watch in my collection? Two different answers, obviously. But I mean, listen, I'll answer both. So Seiko, for me, has been the easiest to source, right? We all know that those are plentiful, those are readily available, those are a lot easier. Worrying about the movement, fitting, worry about having, the NH35 is a very sound movement. So that's probably like the Seiko things are probably my favorite thing to modify. I like to find cases on AliExpress, and you could spend some time like searching through the bunch where you're looking for a case excuse me, that isn't as, just isn't used as much, right? Like, we all know that there's a bunch of cases out there for, like, the, what is it called? I'm drawing a blank. Like the SKX 009, they have a lot of cases for that. Maybe you don't want to go that route. Maybe you want to build a custom, and then they have a lot of Datejust. They have a lot of things that. But you can go down the rabbit hole with AliExpress and find cases that are a little bit different, still NH35. Maybe they have a movement holder in there, but you can find some pretty nice things that are a lot different. Favorite modded watch in my collection, just to make sure to cover both ends, is probably my first watch. It's probably my bronze watch. It's the logo in my YouTube. That's my favorite modded watch, because it's been with me from the beginning, and it's gone through so many reiterations. I've changed out the hands in there, the dials. You know, I went from originally using a Seiko dial on that one to finding out that I could get a custom dial eventually, swapping that out. And of course, I chewed up the hands on that watch. So the first set of hands I had in there, I believe they were Cathedral as well, and just I was using metal tweezers on them. That's a no-no, right? So you want to use something that has, I think it's ceramic ends or plastic ends, whatever, just not metal. And as you're holding that, now, what I've developed over time was not using the tweezers at all. I'll use Rodico, or I'll use like this little stick that has glue at the end, like a little ball of glue, which is used to clean off the dials. I'm using that less because over time it's getting less sticky, but Rodico works. Don't hammer the Rodico right in the center of it. Go at the very end, pick up that hand, hour hand, minute hand, second hand, and then you're lightly doing everything, and then you just press it down, take it off, and I use that little glue tip to clean off if there's any smudges from the Rodico. But of course, try to get a clean piece of Rodico. There's like 2 separate ones that I use. Sometimes there's a piece of Rodico that's a little dirtier than the other ones. Let me get a watch on my wrist. What am I doing over here? So things of that nature. All right, let me get back to chat. I've never done one myself, but I'm looking to do my first one. Oscar, point in case, man. Point in case. What I'm finding is the more I'm talking about modified watches, the more people are telling me that they're interested to do it, and or they're a little nervous in attempting it. Listen, man, I don't know if you caught this from the beginning, but I gave a couple of different offers as far as where you could begin that. There's different levels. The most sound start is with a quartz watch. I don't know if you're looking to do that route, if you want a mechanical, but the most sound one, the one that's most forgiving, is going to be a quartz watch. So you got your Royale, you got your DW 5600, Casio, G-Shock, whatever it is. Those are the easiest routes to go. If you're looking for mechanical, it's like how I just said, man, just buy a watch that's already made, something that you don't care about, $50 to $100, something that's like, you have to be okay with saying, I could throw this whole watch away in the garbage. Why do I say that? You're getting used to a lot of things. You're going to be handling the movement, right? First of all, you have the balance wheel that if you press down too hard, a tool slips and you mess up the springs in that, that's not going to run the right way. I would just take your time, watch a bunch of videos on it, watch how they're handling stuff, right? It's important to see how they walk through the process and how they put it together, but it's more important, I would beg to stress, how they're handling the parts, how they're handling the movement. Like, you don't hold a movement like this, right? Going back to that balance wheel, now I'm compromising that if that rotor is not covering it at that point and I'm squeezing down on it, it's stuff that you're not going to think of. But if you're holding it on the sides, if you're holding it, the way you're supposed to, that's never going to happen. You're never going to have that issue. You may put it down. You may put it down on a tool. There's so many things that can happen. And I don't want to scare you. Listen, it's a lot of fun and it's not as hard as you think, but you're going to have boo-boos. And movements are very delicate, especially mechanical movements, obviously. So you have to be willing to take the loss on the watch. So that's why I always stress going super affordable, or if not, reverse engineering a watch. This way there's less stress, and then you could try things along the way and change things out. Because you could always change out the crown, you could always change out the hands, you could always change out the dial if something's already complete and you say, okay, this hand's not for me, let me change out the hands. Okay, I want a crown with a little bit more grip on it. Let me get an NH35 stem, clip it, and then put a new crown on it, and then mess around with that. Welcome, Sneak Wolf. Welcome in, everybody. If I missed anybody, I know I'm going really slow on chat, but Burjon are very expensive. Yes, Burjon is very expensive. There are a few tools that you can pick up from there. Like if you get into servicing movements, they have oilers that are very inexpensive. I would try to go on their website first to see things that are like $10, $15. But for the majority of it, yes, Bergeron is very expensive. Space G saying double tap the screen. I appreciate you, bro. You always got my back. Thanks, Skyler. Thanks, Skyler. It was great. I thought it would be mega. Very good friend. Birthday gift. Thanks, Skyler. You're welcome, JC. You're welcome. Would it be possible to modify an Invicta provided into a GMT? Would it be possible to modify an Invicta Pro Diver into a GMT? So the GMT, the NH34 versus the 35, there is a difference in sizing. So I'm not entirely sure that that would translate into a GMT. Yeah, so if it's like a NH35, I think the Invicta Pro Diver is a 35. I don't think that a 35 and a 34 is transferable because I think the thickness is different. So that's something that you have to look out for. I would do homework on that. So when you're going from case to case and movement to movement, that's something that people asked me questions before. They asked me, hey, I have this old watch of mine. It's a vintage watch. You know, can I change the movement out to an NH35 and just have a nice day? No, because movements have different widths, movement have different thicknesses, they have different stems, they have different crowns that go into it. So long as you can fit the movement in there snug, which 95% of the time it's not going to be transferable if it's not the same movement, right? I'm going to say no. Now, there are more advanced things that you can do where you do 3D printing for a holder, right? You get the measurement of the case inside, you get the measurement of the NH35, you 3D print that, and then maybe you can get away with it if the thickness is not an issue. But most of the time, and I don't think that the 34 and the 35 for a GMT transfer is going to be the case, but you can still change out the hands, you could still change out other things. And I don't know, at that point, I don't know if it's worth it because you could always produce a very affordable NH34 GMT movement. So look into it, man. Do your homework. I don't want to steer you in the wrong directions. I don't do too many movement transfers and do any 3D printing. I've looked into it. I don't want to go that far into it, so that's where it's at. Amazing gift, howdy. That you've modded, howdy. It has an NH35. It has an NH35, yeah, so I don't think you could put a 34. I think the 34 is thicker. I may be wrong. Check into it. Look into it. Rocking my Skylar mod right now. Oh yeah, Space. I gave you one of these guys, right? One of these mods, the Royale, or maybe it was a Skimmy. I was playing with Skimmy cases and Royale modules, which is transferable. In that case, talking about transferring movements. It's a little tight when you go from the the Casio to the Skimmy. So it is doable. I did do it on a couple of them, and you get different colorways from that casing. So it's something that you may be interested in doing. But yeah, Space, I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It was my pleasure to hook a brother up. Better to use Rodical. I agree, Oscar. I think that now I pretty much use Rodical when I'm messing around with the hands and playing around that Skyline. How can I get in contact with you? Oscar, I'm on Watch Crunch. Send me a message on there if you don't have a account. It's on my profile of my YouTube. So when this live goes down and you're interested, just click on my home screen to my page, and then you'll see my account on Watch Crunch, and then just send me a direct message and let me know whatever questions you have, brother. I'll help you out. My Dress KX is my WRU. Yeah, Dress KX is a very common watch that was used for a lot of modifying. It's a fantastic watch. Hello from Kentucky. What's going on from Kentucky? Henson, appreciate you for dropping in. Started with a 25-year-old fossil. Started your watch collection with a 25-year-old fossil. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Michael Kors, I've talked about that a couple of times. That's my most valuable watch in my collection, to be honest with you. I posted that in the daily driver for Watch Crunch, and somebody was like, man, I was gonna follow you, but then I seen that Michael Kors was like your favorite watch. But then somebody had asked me why, and I told the story, and then he refollowed me. He was like, "Oh, I didn't know that that was the story. It was the first watch my wife ever gave me. She actually started my collection before it was a collection. Most valuable piece of my collection. If there was a fire, God forbid, that would be the only piece that I'd be looking to pull out of my collection to save, hands down." The NH34 is slightly taller than the 35 due to the additional complication and the pinion height. Yes, exactly. So that's what I mean. I don't know if you're going to be able to get that case back on there once you transfer it, and or, you know, it's not worth trying. It's worth researching. I don't know if you guys know who Loomshot is. I haven't seen anything new by Loomshot. I was really like intrigued with his channel. He had some really cool stuff, and he started really like taking watch modding to the next level, where he was like cutting out his own cases from scratch from a block of, it was crazy, a block of steel this guy was doing. Excuse me. And he started doing stuff like, if you had the 007 or the 009 of the SKX, he was putting the higher grade movement with the hacking and hand winding on there. And that he successfully did. I think that there were a couple of things that you needed to know about doing that, but it is successfully done. If you have that watch and the movement needs a service, definitely take a look at that video. It's not worth, I mean, look, I'm saying it's not worth servicing, but you may want the original movement. You may value that. You may want to go ahead and spend that money to have that movement service. But for me, I'm either swapping out the movement for one, or I'm doing an upgrade at that point for the Seikos. So a little different, because we're not going from a GMT to a regular three-hander, right? Or three-hander with date. But I think it transfers, and it's transferable a little bit easier when it comes to that. Welcome to the club, Tasha. Yes, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys saying hello for me. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to stay with you guys. Tasha, what's your opinion on the case? What's your opinion on case back mods? Case back mods. So like putting a see-through case back on something that's not see-through, absolutely, you're able to do that, no problem. What you have to do is you have to take off that case back, right? You have to unscrew it, do some measurements of where those grooves begin, where the outside of the case ends. I've run into some issues with that, more specifically on Pagani Designs. I believe I had a solid case back on that, and I wanted to put a see-through window. But I bought like 3 different case backs after measuring. I don't think I measured. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think I just thought like, hey, it's case back. You know what I mean? Like I'm buying a case back that's relatively the same size. I might have measured just the outside of it, but I bought 3 of them, and they were not catching. They were either too big, too small, whatever it is. It's worth it. It's worth it. I would say that if you want to change the case back out, get the measurements on, like I said, where those grooves start to catch for when you screw it in. Just do your homework on the measurements and making sure that that case back is going to be transferable. It's absolutely doable. Those case backs that I purchased didn't go to waste. Like, I have issues when somebody cracks their crystal on the back of their case back. They're now getting a solid case back for a watch that I modded. But yeah, man, I checked them on a couple of watches that I built. I think they're between like a 36 millimeter overall size case and a 38 to 40, and they still kind of worked. So for sure, case backs are definitely an option. I'm gonna get into rotors since you said case back. It just reminds me of that. But Sneak, is that your watch crunch name? From Italy. Mega, you're from Italy? I didn't know that. I have a 3D watch on order, 3D printed watch on order. Fire. You got a Mega. I know you're on Watch Crunch. Send me some information on that 3D printed watch. I definitely want to learn about that. It wears awesome, bro. Very good. I'm glad, bro. I'm glad, Space. Enjoy that. What kind of G-Shocks are you wearing? Oh, right now? I'm sorry, man. If you didn't catch it in the beginning, I'm excited. The DW5600, man. Classic. You couldn't go wrong with it. Now, I just went the completely affordable route with that, right? There's different options, and I think that this watch is crazy. Like, this watch goes up to like $4,000 on some of the models. Bluetooth, this, that, you know, it's kind of crazy. I didn't need all that, but I was I bought the battery powered version, and by battery I mean an actual battery that you swap in and out every couple of years. I don't know on this one; it probably lasts longer than a couple of years, but they do have the solar power version. Should I have gone solar powered? I don't know. I'm kind of like cross that bridge. I'm pretty sure changing out the battery is not that serious when it comes to it. And when it comes to solar powered, if it does need a service, that movement is probably cooked, right? Because you're not obviously not going to send that back to G-Shock to swatch that out. But that's on my wrist, DW5600. That's what I was using today as an example of the first modding step. If you want to do a level 1, just change out the casing of it. It's basically like a band swap, except with the addition of changing out the screws. That's what I have on this. I absolutely love this watch, despite having the King version of it, right? That really gaudy big one, which I need to get more wrist time on it, but I got to find a band. But that's what I have on wrist. Still summertime vibes. September 22nd, 23rd is probably the end of summer, so I got some time to play around with it. I might go titanium. I'm like, yo, I'm sorry guys, I'm coughing a lot today, maybe allergies. I'm like, do I really need to put a metal on this? Eventually. Titanium's not in my collection yet. I have like a sponsorship that I have coming up that they're sending me a titanium watch, so I probably will have one in my collection, but I do want to put titanium on this eventually, lightweight metal, but I'm not in a rush because, you know, I did that for the AE 1200, 1300. Eventually I'll probably do it for the 1600 because I'm a degenerate, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what kind of G-Shock sneak that and awesome clean looking. Yeah, no, it's super clean, man. I don't know how long it's gonna be clean though. I don't know. Wifey wipes down the watches every time I come through the house though. God bless her soul. Like my watches are, I got a lot of watches in rotation to speak of. I got about 40 watches. You know, I don't necessarily wear a new watch every single day, but wifey wipes it down before I come in, so there's no chance for buildup. God bless her soul. Let me see. Just like my Fossil and a Well family heirloom watches. Okay, okay. So same scenario with you, man. It's what you value in the watch sometimes, you know, whether it be a fashion brand, maybe it's a very inexpensive, it doesn't matter. This is a very inexpensive watch, but it's very highly respected. There's a lot of people that purchase it for a lot of different reasons. We're talking about 200 meters of water resistance. We're talking about something that you can play with as far as customizing. There's plenty of different, I'm gonna call them skins. There's plenty of different skins that you can put on it. I was gonna leave it on the black, but it's summertime, man. It's beautiful out here. Like I was like, when am I gonna get away with the all white, you know, for that long? So, you know, a lot of people purchase this watch for a lot of reasons, but the one thing that we can't argue is the fact that this thing is well respected on many, many collections, whether you have something that is of or more luxury brand watches or not. Like even luxury guys who collect put this in their watch collection because they know it's a killer watch to put on the gym. Maybe they have more of like an activity thing, but I absolutely love this thing, man. I love this thing. And I want you guys to know now that we have a couple of people in here. What do you guys think I should do for the screen, man? Should I go with a all black screen? Should I put some negative polarized film in here? Negative blue? Negative red? What should I do with it? Put a regular film on it? Let me know. Let me know. I'm kind of like tossing around the idea. Hey, that's advanced modifying, subtract. Hey, that's advanced manufacturing known as subtractive Okay, I'm not sure what you mean, bro. I'm sorry. I gave him that Michael Kors. Yes, you gave me that Michael Kors 17 years ago. So my girlfriend at the time, which is now wife, she gave me, was it 17 years old, babe? 17 years ago? Sheesh. We getting old. That's impressive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My Fossil was a gift, dear friend, treasure in my collection. Exactly, man. That is my most valued, treasured watch. Thank God I put that watch in a watch box. I was the most laziest guy. I was 17 years old. I was the most laziest dude ever. I don't know how and why that watch stayed in its watch box, but it was pristine when it came out. It was still running. The battery was still in there. Obviously, it was completely dead. Luckily, that battery didn't leak. Like, everything just lined up, man. And she just pulled it out of the woodworks when I started collecting. She's like, remember this watch? I was like, oh, you would have thought I found a Rolex. I need to give my wife some. Yeah, man. I talk about watches so much that I don't have to give her no hints anymore. I beat my wife over the head. And she, listen, she got me the Venetianico, Rendendori, Aventurina. That watch is classy, man. But my 35th, that was on the money. Just in time for going to a wedding. Venturine glass. Yo, Venetianico, I'm sure you guys seen videos of them, man. They're coming up with their dials. They're becoming a dial company. I know that a lot of people are like $600 hairs for an NH35. Get out of here. But they're doing some nice stuff, man. My personal interactions with them, I know that they had a history, but I only have optics for my experience, and I'm only going to share with you guys what I personally experienced with them. They're putting some dials in there, man. I think they just came out with a gold dial. They have the all black out. They have a lot of artistic dials on it. Man, oh man, not from Italy, NYC, LOL. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Maybe I jumbled up the words, Mega. But if you were from Italy, that Aventurine conversation, 3D printing. Okay, cool. I have a DW 5600 UBB. That's the Bluetooth version? Is that the Bluetooth version, I think? Solar powered? Fred from Little Italy. Yeah, agreed. Just sent you. Appreciate you, Mega. I'll check it out. I'll check out the link. Mines are very clean. Degenerates United. 100%. End of summer. I'm still waiting for it to begin in Ireland. Yeah, man. Different strokes for different folks. We're in the different parts of the world, man. I hear you. And again, the heirloom watches are very old. Space, I'm just rolling. I'm trying to catch up, guys. My bad. DW was the first purchase of my watch journey. It's the first purchase of a lot of people's watch journey, man. It's a lovely, lovely watch. I love it, man. Listen, man. All right, so let's get into some different conversations. I'm getting stuck. It's important for us to have. Listen, me making the videos and everything else. I want to motivate people, and I want the conversation to be fun and interactive and inspiring and everything else. But it's important for us to all pull our weight and do our thing, because we get wrapped up and we think that this world of watches is very large. It's not. Positive, talking about our journey, talking about where it started, just, supporting each other, man. You don't have to jump on here and make videos. I know jumping on lives is not for everybody. Making content is not for everybody. But man, oh man, like it's very important for all of us to be supportive in some way, fashion, because our world is not as big as we think, and we got to grow that pie. We have to continue that legacy for watch collecting, and just it's a lot funner that way. It's a lot funner. Basically, so you got to break it down for me, Sneak. Sorry. Basically, subtractive manufacturing is removing material from a piece of metal to create. So yeah, exactly. That's what Loomshot was doing. That's it. What Loomshot was doing. It was a block of metal. You guys will see it. I don't know if you guys don't know Loomshot, go on his YouTube page. I don't know if he's still posting or not, but he got to the point, man. He was all about doing custom watches and stuff like that. I watched all of his videos, man, when I was getting into this, and that's something that I also want to recommend to you guys too. Like, knowledge is key. Knowledge is power. And you obviously can't watch one video and take it for face value and think you know everything. You have to watch a whole bunch, read forums, ask the community. If you guys, whoever's watching this, if you're not on Watch Crunch, you are a watch enthusiast, it's the best place, man, because there's a lot of people on there that are ready and willing to help you out. It's a 24/7, thing where you can just make a post. Hey guys, I have a question. I recently asked a question about my chronograph. I was demagnetizing some of my watch straps. So something I just learned is a lot of the pins, a lot of the spring bars that come with our straps, they come magnetized, right? And it never dawned on me to test this. It never dawned on me to think of this, but I forgot which video I was watching. Somebody had mentioned that, and I said, So I grabbed a couple of straps that I had on me, and there's nothing. It doesn't mean that who you purchase for is giving you poor quality. This is coming from the manufacturing. This is coming from a lot of like traveling and doing different things where it's picking up that magnetized kind of thing. So the strap you may buy is perfectly fine, but what you need to do is when you get a strap, especially if it has a quick release on it, and or you're changing out a new one, go ahead and demagnetize that. Now, I was putting on something for my swatch, my moon swatch, and I was demagnetizing automatic mechanical watches, and I said, should I demagnetize my quartz watch? I don't know. My gut feeling was saying don't do it. I did it anyway. You know, I am a hardhead, baby. And one of the chrono hands had shifted from that pull of the demagnetizer. Now, another thing that I wasn't aware of and something that I was new to is I just thought that I just messed up my watch. I was like, okay, now the chrono hands are not sitting, you know, they're all pulled over to the right. So what I did, like a kid, I'm holding over the demagnetizer and I'm pressing the button, trying to get it to move until it gets perfectly. And I got the large chrono hand to get to the middle, but all of the other ones, it wasn't happening. So I posted that on Watch Crunch. This is my point. I'm long-winded, baby. I posted that on Watch Crunch, and I was like, was I supposed to demagnetize a quartz watch? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I never pretend like I know something I don't. And am I beat? Did I just mess up the movement? Did I just mess up the hands? And somebody told me, bro, just pull out the crown and hit the buttons and they readjust. I had no idea. You understand? 4 years. I had no idea. And Trap called it out and he said it the best way. He's like, I'm a learning professional, right? There's things that I know and there's things that I don't know. If you're on this channel and you're new to watch collecting and you want some information on starting to mod, I'm your guy. If you want in-depth professional watchmaker advice, I'm never gonna pretend, guys. I don't know what I don't know, and I'm okay with coming on here and saying that to your faces that I don't know, okay? And I'm learning, man, but thank God for the community. That was my point. Can you imagine? 20 minutes ago, that was my point. My point is that if you guys have questions and you're on a social media platform, my recommendation is always Watch Crunch because the community is very positive and pretty responsive and happy to help. Somebody told me about that chronograph function to switch out, and c'est la vie. So yeah, those are a couple tips. Demagnetize your spring bars when you first get them. And if you have a whole box of spring bars, like I have a whole box that comes with sometimes kits and stuff like that, just demagnetize the whole thing. And I can't recommend if you should do this to your quartz chrono because it moved the hands on mines. And I don't even know if you're supposed to do that for a quartz watch. So you guys let me know. Okay, let's go to the chat. Sorry, guys. It was just specialized class, inverted, chair. Okay. Hadn't seen the loom shot video in a while. Yeah, Space, I don't know what happened to my homie, man. I don't know if he just, whatever, man. It is what it is, right? Like, we all have real life stuff going on. We all may have changes in the directions that we want to do. So, Space, should I post some loom shot post? Should I post some loom shot post on Watch Crunch? Yeah, man, loom shots are always phenomenal. So, all right, guys, I'm going to talk about a couple more things before we get off here. How long have we been on? Almost an hour. So we're not going to be on here too much. I know we're getting video fatigued and you're getting tired of my ugly mug. But one thing I want to talk about, one last piece of advice that I've experienced recently, and that's why I come on here to do these things. So my brother is getting into collecting, right? You hang around me, you become a watch collector, or at least you get a couple of watches. And what he's like to collect is Orient kind of vintage style watches, which is really interesting. So he had a couple of fashion brand watches, and then I gave him a couple of mechanical watches, and he started getting into it. And he started liking some Orient watches, man. Some really cool timepieces that are more of a vintage kind of collection and stuff like that, more on the smaller side. So I thought that was very interesting. But what you need to know is this. He gets his off of eBay, buy the seller. You know, that's something that we all hear. But, you know, it's something that I'm going to stress to you guys because it's something that he's dealing with. So not so much this watch, it's running fine, but this watch is giving him issues. It's a stop-go type of thing on the movement. It needs to be serviced. And he's newer to watch collecting, and he was asking me questions like, well, you know, how much would it cost to get serviced? And I'm like, that's not the route, bro. That's going to cost you hundreds of dollars, if not more, to take apart this movement. I said, look, you're probably better off finding out what movement comes inside of it. And this is going into modding, right? And you're probably better off, finding if they still produce the movement that's inside the watch, and see if you could just do a swap, and now he's gone back and forth with the seller. The seller said, oh, we serviced it before we sent it out. It must have happened in transitions, in transportation, and it didn't, right? Because, of course, he's got me. I popped open the back. Everything is dry in the movement. It clearly needs a service, and it was never touched. I tried putting a little bit of oil in there. Sometimes that gets things going. I had HMT vintage watches that just needed a little bit of oil because it's super dry. And guys, these guys, shipping vintage watches that were refurbed and this and that, and we did a service on it, they're not. It's super expensive for just the oils alone to do services, right? Those oils come in vials about yay high. And those bottles cost anywhere from $30 to $100 a pop, okay? Never mind having to have the skills and or the ability to take a movement apart and put it back together without the risk of breaking the movement, to which now what profit margins do you have? And then they're selling the watches for $40 to $100. Now the price should have been somewhat of an indicator, but it wasn't, and it doesn't mean that you can't find a deal of that. But my advice and my tip of the day is, of course, getting into vintage watches, even if it's affordable vintage watches, you're buying the seller and you're taking a risk, and there's always going to be that, that chance of it being that kind of situation that he's into right now. Now, long story short, he ended up, after a back and forth for over a month, the guy's going to send him a movement. Whether he's going to get that movement or not, I don't know. But I did look up the movement for him, and I can purchase the movement separately, which is almost the cost of what he paid for the watch itself. And I said, hey, listen, I'm willing to give it a shot. It's the correct movement, so it should be just anything that I've gone through, but every movement is slightly different, and there can be complications that happen with that. So, I can't guarantee you that I'll be able to swap it out, me being aware of, how that goes. So, that's something that I wanted to give you guys as a tip of the day. You know what I mean? So very cool. And that's it, guys. I had a couple of other watches here. So just before we sign off, I know y'all canceling me right now. You're like, what's that? Is that an Apple Watch? Cancel them. Cancel Santana. Yo, my journey started there, guys. I was the type of person that didn't like rings. I had to get used to that too. Wifey's still watching. So after I got used to that, I said, let me get an Apple Watch, track my heart rate. We all need to see how many hours we got at night and see how well, we don't need to know that. Did you sleep? Yes. Was it 8 hours? Okay, you didn't sleep 8 hours. You're still tired. Sheesh. Sorry, guys, if that was really loud. But my journey started with an Apple Watch. Got me used to something on the wrist. Now I don't wear it so much. Went from that to Invictas, which are very, very nice watches. Got nothing wrong, nothing bad to say about them. This one happens to be a quartz Invicta. It now is in my brother's collection because I just had too many and I wasn't getting this on the wrist. So, if I ever want to borrow it and put it back on there, it's here. A lot of people start off with the mechanical version of it. And then I don't think I have any fashion watches, but I told you about my Michael Kors. That's a fashion watch. So wherever your journey begins, you guys are all welcome on this channel, as you should be. I appreciate you guys for coming in and checking in. I know we're a little over an hour now, so we're going to sign off. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys. Have a great day.